think the protests are going to continue, and those who are in power would probably come to think that the House might collapse on them as it has collapsed on other leaders around in the region, and so they might give in if the demonstrators manage to create some kind of representation that would articulate exactly what are the steps that they need to see followed in order to come to a solution to this. If they have a plan, okay, what do we want? We don't want this. Absolutely, it's not Bouteflika. You know, Bouteflika is not the man, the bad guy everybody wants out.
Right.
It is the fifth mandate, the fifth term.
Okay.
The fifth term is out.
Okay,
but
so
they want the entire system to be changed, and that is going to require a plan on how do we get there.
Okay, so I'm going to have to stop you there. Azadine Leachi, thank you so much. The Professor of Government and Politics at St. John's University in New York City. In the last hour of Newsday, we talked to Dr. Richard Idro, neurologist and pediatrician from Makerere University and Mulago Hospital in Kampala in Uganda. He was talking about malaria, a disease which kills 3,000 young children daily. He has just been awarded the inaugural Greenwood Africa Award for his work in this field. But he's not just an expert on malaria. You see, he also specializes in a disease called nodding syndrome, a rare and mysterious disease which affects people mainly in Tanzania, South Sudan, and North Uganda. There have also been recent reports of it spreading elsewhere. Dr. Idro has been talking to us about his insights on that matter.
Nodding syndrome have been described initially in Tanzania, then in South Sudan, and in Uganda. But in recent days, have also been observed in the Congo and in the Central African Republic. And what we did in Uganda initially was to try to categorize this disease to identify what the main issues, critical issues
전화 안 받는다 캐도
are amenable to treatment and
봤어 엄마가 놀러
symptom relief, treat the most important symptoms, and then we do the symptoms which were unmanageable. So specifically, many of these children have severe
Orders from General Diaz. Three objectives. First, the churches in Morocco must be taken.
여보세요
After this, we move immediately
혹시
to
까다마요 왜?
Then, with this momentum,
왜?
we must move on and reclaim the great Forteferro over here. This will cut the entire Austro-Hungarian line in two, allowing us to finish them by the coast.
알로 해 메시지 해 세면모 한 5개 말씀을 드릴 같아 말하기도 같아 정비 야나 시간에 물에 지나간다
related to a toxin, whether it's environment, is it genetic or is it a consequence of an infection? Today,
정비보 5개가 아이고 정비로 가가지고 해야 된다 해 이거 가라고 하는 거네 세면모 해야지
pathology studies from post-mortem studies of children who unfortunately have died. We have been able to examine some of the brains, and what it has shown is a form of degenerative brain disease in these children.
And what can be done with nodding sickness? What developments, or how have you been able to move on the research and treatment?
In Uganda, other than these symptomatic treatments, which at least in terms of each individual patient has really led to improvement in quality of life, we have been able to address and interrupt the transmission of this filarial worm. So we have had an intensive vector control program. The breeding sites where the flies which transmit the worms have been targeted by either spraying or applying larvicides, and then the population in the affected area, about 2 million people, every 6 months, that's every year in April and in October, they get ivermectin. And what this has done is that the burden of the filarial worm in the community has declined and actually it's now almost being cleared. And in Uganda, we started doing this in 2012, and the good news from there is that since 2014 we have not seen a new case of narcissism in Uganda. So what we have are the persons who had disease before 2014.
Dr. Richard, hydroneurologist and pediatrician at Mulago Hospital in Uganda.
You're listening to Newsday with Bon and Kani here on the BBC. Coming up in the next 15 minutes or so, some radio stations are refusing to play Michael Jackson hits following a revealing American TV documentary which carried interviews with young men who say they suffered sexual abuse at the hands of the singer. Should we all stop listening to Michael Jackson now? That's what you've got to listen.
And do remember you can share views on that subject and text us. Tell us what you think. +44 7786 20 50 85.
We're going to go to Syria next. The human rights lawyers have filed the first cases against the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad at the International Criminal Court in The Hague, although Syria isn't a signatory of the ICC. The legal teams for these cases say there is now precedent. The suits were filed on behalf of 28 Syrian refugees in Jordan who say they were forced to leave the country. Well, joining us now is Ronnie Dixon, the barrister who's leading the team who brought this case. Welcome to the program, sir. Why have you brought this case? And just explain on what grounds in a little bit more detail.
We've brought the case on behalf of these refugees who are in Jordan, who were deported from Syria. They number 28, but they are sample cases for thousands of people who've been deported unlawfully in this way. And based on their evidence and the fact that they are in an ICC signed-up country, Jordan,
yes.
We are saying to the prosecutor that she has jurisdiction. And based on this evidence, she should now open an investigation and look to prosecute those responsible.
Even though that Syria is not signed up to the ICC, do they still have... okay.
Yes, so Syria is not signed up, but because they were forced to flee over the border from Syria as a result of violent acts in Syria, but into a ICC state party country, Jordan, that gives the ICC jurisdiction, and we're basing it on the recent decision by the pre-trial chamber in the Rohingya case, where the same happened, where persons were deported from Myanmar into Bangladesh, and ICC
내가 이건 가지고 내가
Okay, so I suppose many people will be listening to this thinking a lot of the times when these things do get submitted to the ICC, they could be seen as symbolic. Do you think that the ICC will act?
Well, they should, and we trust that they will, because one, they've got jurisdiction. This has been decided by the judges already, so the prosecutor can act on that good authority. And secondly, there's evidence from these refugees of the violent acts that they were exposed to at the hands of the Syrian government in Syria, which forced them to leave. There are 28 at the moment, but there are many more victims. Their statements can be taken from their there is a proper case which should be taken up now without delay.
And there's many refugees, not only in Jordan, but around the world. Is it likely that they will file their own suits as well against the president?
One has to focus on the strict legal requirements. It has to be a country that's signed up, and that is Jordan in this case. And you have to prove the elements of deportation. So if those exist, then they certainly can. But also what's important is even if they've been deported to countries that haven't signed up, their evidence could be relevant in showing the widespread pattern and policy necessary to prove a crime against humanity. You have to show that, and then show that the deportation over which the court has jurisdiction fits into that. So all of their evidence could be relevant, even if they can't bring actual cases. They could use that evidence in cases where they have jurisdiction and use it for the record.
Okay, Rodney Dixon, a barrister who's leading that case, thank you very much indeed.
This is Newsday on the BBC World Service. Connie Sharp and Bola Mosulo and Andy Barwell with all the latest sports.
The English Premier League champions Manchester City say that they welcome an investigation by UEFA into allegations that the club have violated financial fair play rules. Well, if it's found to be the case, they could even be banned from the Champions League. City deny any wrongdoing. As for the players, well, they'll just keep on playing, according to captain Vincent Kompany.
I don't think it's an issue for us to deal with as players. We have enough on our plate. I think in the end, football always prevails, and that's the key thing. I think by the time that the weekend comes, our fans will want us to win the game, play the football that we play, and that's our best way to contribute to the game, is to play the beautiful football that we always play.
Arsenal had never lost an away game against French opposition. That was until they came up against Rennes last night, who were 3-1 first leg winners in the last 16 of the Europa League. Chelsea made no mistake, a 3-0 first leg victory over Dynamo Kiev. The Spanish team Sevilla, who have a fine record in the competition, 5-time winners, they were held 2-2 at home in the first leg by Slavia Prague. Lionel Messi has been called up for Argentina in their squad for the first time since their disappointing World Cup last year. It seems he's back in the fold again after missing all 6 games since that tournament in Russia. Well, Argentina play Venezuela and Morocco at the end of the month, but Messi's fans in Morocco shouldn't get too excited. Jose Pinochet from BBC Mundo says the real aim is for the team to do well at Copa America.
He's not going to play both games this month. He's going to play only one, that is going to be played in Spain, in Madrid, against Venezuela. He's not going to play against Morocco. And I think he's going to concentrate in Barcelona in the next few months. But I think everybody can expect him to be the captain of the national team in June in Brazil.
China's Football Association have said that Jose Mourinho will not be the national team's new coach. There's now widespread reports that the Italian World Cup winner Fabio Cannavaro is instead poised to take the job. Chris Kermode, who has brought about record prize money in men's tennis, is to leave his job as the ATP's executive chairman and president at the end of the year. Steve Smith and David Warner have been left out of Australia's one-day cricket squad for the series against Pakistan, despite the pair being eligible for the final 2 games after their ball tampering bans expire. And day 1 of the second test between New Zealand and Bangladesh has been rained off without a ball being bowled in Wellington.
Communications and artillery.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Now, Namibia is one of the best places to be a woman. That's according to the World Economic Forum, which ranks it 10th in terms of gender gap. Monica Gengos is an investment manager, lawyer, and an entrepreneur. She also happens to be Namibia's first lady to President Hage Geingob. But that's not something she wants young women and girls to have as their ambition. She's been speaking to the BBC's Lebu Diseko.
They mustn't aspire to become somebody through marriage. They must aspire to become somebody through the choices they make about what they want to study, the kind of work that they want to do, and the kind of impact that they want to make in the space that they occupy. So I always ask them, please, aspire to be a president, not a first lady.
I was reading that there is one advocacy group, number one, that says that it will take 108 years to reach global gender parity.
We're getting close because of quotas. And it's as simple as that if, for as long as it's not put into some kind of regulatory framework on its own, it's not going to be very quick. But where I also see a shift happening in Namibia is that we're sitting with graduation rates of girls at higher rates than boys. So in about 10-15 years' time, countries like Namibia are going to have a imbalance. And we can only choose female leaders because the pipeline is full of women. And then you have to ask yourself, where are the boys? And I can tell you where the boys in Namibia are starting to go to. They're starting to end up in jail. They're starting to end up doing all kinds of things that are socially destructive. So it's a constant discussion. It's not a once-off that we've got this quota now, wonderful, wonderful, let's move along, we've ticked the boxes. It's about are we preparing our families? Are we preparing our sons? Are we preparing our husbands to understand how these dynamics have changed and how that translates in the real sense.
Those societal shifts, changing those patriarchal attitudes, how do we do that?
So this is the challenge with patriarchal attitudes and the social shifts. These are things that happen primarily in the private space, in the private realm, and it's difficult to regulate that. And you see it, high levels of gender-based violence. You see men who beat their wives and don't really see a problem with it. So you see women who are emotionally or financially abused, who look down on unmarried women, on women who get beaten. So it's no difference if my husband psychologically abuses me and I look down on my neighbor who's being beaten by her husband. I'm also suffering gender-based violence.
That's the First Lady of Namibia, Monica Gango, speaking to the BBC's Lebo Diseko. Now, here's a question. Should we now stop listening to Michael Jackson's music? The question follows the release of the American TV channel HBO's documentary called Leaving Neverland. It's the story of two men, or rather not the story, but it's the testimony of two men who laid out in graphic detail what they say was their relationship with Michael Jackson and the sexual abuse they allege they suffered at the hands of the King of Pop. Now, the program was aired on Sunday in the United States and Canada, and here in the UK on Wednesday. And as with the allegations against R. Kelly, the R&B American singer, and the backlash with a number of radio stations saying they will not play his music, Michael Jackson's music is now being boycotted by a number of radio stations. I heard more from the news editor at Yahoo Canada, Elisabetta Bianchini.
We had a few radio stations who have banned Michael Jackson music since it came out. That being said, with our readers over at Yahoo, but additionally with other readers and Canadians in general, a lot of people are really not ready to let go of the King of Pop and to let go of that music, even despite the documentary coming out a few days ago.
This is basically a documentary with a couple of people alleging or giving testimony or saying what actually happened to them with allegations of sexual abuse on the part of Michael Jackson.
Now, both of these men earlier on have come out and said that nothing inappropriate happened between them and Michael Jackson. There was no abuse and there was no assault. Now coming back to this as adults and being a bit older, they've come out and said that they were not being truthful in the past and now are ready to explain what they are alleging is their accurate and correct story.
These allegations of alleged abuse by the King of Pop have been circulating for many years, more than a decade. So why is it now that certain radio stations and certain individuals or DJs are saying now they're actually going to not play his music?
I think now the landscape has definitely changed, particularly recently. We have allegations from R. Kelly, with Surviving R. Kelly coming out, and we're kind of on the coattails of the Harvey Weinstein scandals as well. And I think that we're at a point now where people are being incentivized to kind of come out and they really feel more comfortable. And as more people start to come out with stories of abuse or assault, it just kind of spirals and more people are starting to come and speak out now.
Could it be that the persona of Michael Jackson, the King of Pop, being he was larger than life, his music has been some